Thank you. Okay, so let's start. And thank you for staying and for listening, and welcome everyone here and online. Just who am I? My name is Andrea, and I'm Italian, but I'm living in Denmark. So as an Italian, expect some body language, some hands movements, of course, and I apologize for my weird accent. MVP for data platform, working in Pandora as a BI front-end engineer, meaning that I've been doing BI and data for my entire working life. So data is my core business. And now in Pandora, 1.5 years, I'm a speaker, many events worldwide, starting from SQL Saturdays up to the largest data conference in North America called the PAS Summit and some other events. Today, I'm afraid that I'm going to talk something that is not so fancy as we had before. So we're talking about real life of working with data and working with a monitoring solution built, fully built in Azure. So I believe this topic is relevant to the Azure umbrella, because we are building a monitoring solution and everything is into using Azure tools and into the Azure stack, as you will see. We are collecting audit logs. I will talk about it, and we build a full monitoring solution. So our main focus was Power BI, and you will see why. But again, it's a cloud solution. So we believe you can see how we use the full stack of Azure for handling data into the cloud. Starting and talking about monitoring and collecting logs. I don't know how familiar are you, but of course there is an standard built-in solution that is Azure Monitor. You have log analytics. Actually, for several reasons, we are not using these standard tools, mainly because there are some limitations in terms of Power BI. There are some still some limitations that moved us to building a custom solution. For instance, this is really Power BI stuff, but you cannot connect multiple Power BI workspaces to the same log analytics workspace. So for instance, this is a real limitation for us, because of course you are monitoring a full tenant of Power BI, so you cannot have as many workspaces in log analytics as you have on Power BI. Then the default retention period is 90 days in Azure Monitor. If you extend, you can extend the period, then you pay a lot of money. Of course, pricing was one of the key reasons for not using standard Azure monitoring and log analytics features. Then I have no clue how to use how to write a custo query language. It's the query language for using for reading log data. So it's an additional language to learn. For instance, another key reason was that we are not keen in metrics. That this is what you are getting mainly from log analytics, but we wanted to monitor user trends. We are also collecting metrics. You will see it. So there were several reasons because we decided, okay, let's not use the standard. And by the way, again, this is a Power BI limitation, but you can only monitor Power BI Premium workspaces, not Power BI Pro workspaces. We have, as a company, we have 2 premium licenses, premium capacities, but again, we have a bunch of stuff on standard Pro subscription. So for several reasons, we said, okay, Azure Monitor is not the best fit for us. Let's build a custom solution using as I said, Azure stack, but maybe building something that is more tailor-made and less expensive. Just to set up the scene so that you understand the context, we started the journey 1.5 years ago, something like that, starting this project called One Stop Shop. I'm not going into details. It's just to give you the overview of what we did and why we are up to this point now that we want to collect data and what kind of data we are interested in collecting and monitoring. So we started this project one-stop shop, meaning the one single point of entry and one single point of truth for all our data, and for delivering what is called enterprise data model, meaning data that is certified and trustable. The one-stop shop project is built on main 3 bricks. One, it's the insights. The company now it's decided that this one was taken a couple of years ago. The company is using Power BI as a front-end reporting tool. Of course, when you are in a larger company such Pandora is, the landscape is fragmented, so you have plenty of different tools, and in reporting area it's exactly the same, but the journey is to kill all the legacy applications that we have. Don't know, ClickView, MicroStrategy, whatever you can think about, we do have, of course. And then everything it's streamlined into Power BI. Therefore, one of the key pillars of this strategy is building what we call insights. They are Power BI reports, and delivering through a Sharepoint portal. This is another interesting topic. Don't know if anyone is interested, but we are delivering Power BI via Sharepoint. So the reports are embedded in Sharepoint. And this is another interesting topic. I could speak hours about it, talking about Sharepoint limitations and how we bypassed some Sharepoint limitation because embedding Power BI into Sharepoint as a standard solution is pretty limited. But we are doing it, so meaning that something can be done. And the backend, so we started 1.5 years ago, building a new backend solution, moving from on-premises to cloud. So now the backend it's Synapse. So we have a data warehouse in Synapse Analytics. So as you can see, actually this is a cloud, a full cloud solution, because we are uploading into Power BI service, then embedding into SharePoint Online, of course, and then the data behind it's Azure Synapse Analytics. In some cases, the data is coming from Azure Analysis Services. Okay, so yes, I already discussed it. So the reports are built in Power BI. Then we have this portal called Athena, used for delivering all the insights. So all the reports are embedded into the SharePoint portal, and the backend is built in Azure Synapse Analytics and in Azure Analysis Services. I mean, there's no reason for waiting for questions at the end of the session, so anytime you have something in mind, maybe you can ask. Feel free to ask or to interrupt. It's absolutely okay. So that was the concept, the scene. Then we said that the portal now is 1 year old. Then the problem was, okay, we want to monitor. We are launching something new that is brand new for the company. It's one single point of access for everything, finally. So, okay, then it's the moment, at the same time, we wanted to understand the adoption, if people are using it, how people are using it, and what people are accessing. So we want to build a monitoring solution, of course, on top of it. There were some ideas, plenty of ideas actually, thinking about usage, I will get back to it in a second. And then thinking about, okay, we also want to monitor satisfaction. We also want to measure engagement. We want also to measure innovations, how people think that we are creating something new, that we are adding value and creating something that was never in a company before, and blah, blah, blah. So different areas of engagement, but you can feel that this is a quantitative measure, because then you want to see for each of the 3 pillars, Athena, the SharePoint portal, so the reports or the platform, the number of users for domain, the activity, so you want to monitor the activity, the trends, the download, because I didn't say, but we also created a mobile app. So SharePoint, it's both on cloud, on web, and there is an app for it. So we are not using the Power BI standard mobile app. Everything is branded into custom app. Okay, then how many people are using the app, how many people are using reports based on business areas, and blah, blah, blah. So you can think this is quantitative data. The other area is more qualitative. What do you think about the portal? How do you like? Is it user-friendly? All this kind of stuff. So when we think about collecting and showing data, this is the area where you can focus. Number of accesses, number of logs, the downloads, clicks, page view, all this kind of stuff. So the solution, the monitoring solution that is using the data is focusing on the logs, as you will see in a moment. Okay. This is standard SharePoint how to collect data, because then the problem was, okay, how to collect data, how to get data from both environments, SharePoint and Power BI, the Power BI tenant. This is standard SharePoint. This is something that you can, it's built in, it's out of the box in SharePoint. You can go and see some data for the last 7, 30, 90 days. So the retention period for standard retention period for SharePoint is 90 days as well, and it's the same for Power BI. So again, that was not enough. So anyway, this is what you can get if you log into SharePoint and you have just, I guess, member rights. And this is standard out-of-the-box Power BI metrics. So there is a report called the Power BI usage metrics. Again, it's for the past, for the past 30 days, actually. And you have some, you do not have data, you have overview, because you cannot download the data behind it. So you just can see the trend, the number of views, number of unique viewers, but you don't know maybe who is behind it. Or, for instance, you can see, yes, what is the main content, the most popular content, but there's no way for you to get and see exactly time stamps or more detailed info. So the solution is, you want custom data, read logs from both SharePoint and Power BI. Let's start with SharePoint. You have a SharePoint audit log, and by the way, reading audit logs, it's really challenging. So Microsoft should make our life easier, because it's pretty challenging reading audit logs. And I will say it again at the end of the session, but for us, what we can get from the audit log is not enough. So we would like to have more details. Anyway, you go and SharePoint Online, you can you can collect audit logs from SharePoint. From SharePoint, you get, of course, if you go into SharePoint, you have admin rights on Office 365 in the full tenant. You can go, and there is a portal, the admin portal, I don't remember the name, but in Office 365 there is a portal where you can download log data from. And you can download SharePoint and Power BI. When you download SharePoint from the Office 365 portal, this is what you get, basically a CSV file, where you have the operation, so the name of the activity, page viewed or other activities, and then you have the user ID, and then you have the timestamp, and you have a column called all data, and in this column you have actually the most detailed information that you can get. So you have some info that are repeated, timestamp, user ID, blah, 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 and then you also have some other details. The name, so this is the page. This is the SharePoint site. This is the page name. And then you have, for instance, that it's pretty interesting, where this data was accessed from. Was it from web, the browser, or was it from app, from a mobile phone, or whatever? So this is the most that you can get from audit logs. But you need to go into the SharePoint, the Office 365 admin portal with admin rights and download it, unless, of course, you do automation that as we did. But this is the kind of data that you can get from SharePoint Online. Coming to Power BI. In Power BI, I'm not going into details for Power BI, but it's pretty much the same. You can go either in Office 365. So in the Office 365 portal, again, you can download the audit log, and it has the same structure as it has for SharePoint. Or there is a special Power BI activity log that you can run only via PowerShell. The problem is that then you have to struggle against your IT and security people, because if you want to see the unified audit log, then you need admin tenant rights, unless there are some other less privileged accounts. But anyway, it was too much, so we never managed to get it, and it's a bit critical, because they are afraid that they are giving you too much, and that's true, because you are basically can see everything. So of course we created the automation, and I will explain it. But the first time you start talking with your security infrastructure team about I want to see audit logs, then it's just a no, and then the negotiation and the discussion starts. But the first answer is always no. I was working with Power BI in 3 different companies. Always, I am always the Power BI admin tenant, so I'm covering the tenant admin role. I always had the same issue with all the security teams. Okay, so we are going for the Office 365 log, because it's replicating the same structure as SharePoint. Okay, this one, it's if you want to run with PowerShell. I'm not showing you. Yeah, this is okay. This is the name. I didn't remember. So this is a standard Office 365 Security and Compliance Center. For getting here, you need to be authorized. So you need some grants. If you, with your user account, company user account, log in, I guess you can log in, but you cannot query anything because you do not have enough rights. And I told you it's a bit challenging getting the permissions. And of course, this is a manual activity. So you can go, select a time range, whatever, but then it's just downloading by hand. Of course, if you want to have a monitoring solution, it doesn't work. But it's just for you to see that the log is accessible from here as well. So if you have any spot moment where you just want to see what happened at one point in time, then you can go or ask someone to go and download just the subset of data that you need. This is what you can get for Power BI. It's pretty much the same as for the Sharepoint. So you have operation, and we are, of course, interested mainly in viewing operations. So view report, view a dashboard, view a data set, open a data set, or refresh a data set. Because again, it's mainly for you adoption measurement. It is also for auditing. So if anything is going wrong, or if anyone screwed up something on a data set, for instance. But the main operations that we are interested in are view operations. User ID, creation time, and exactly the same structure. So you have a JSON. I didn't say it before. It's a JSON column called all data, where you have all the details. So the kind of operation that was performed, view a report, then you have the report name, workspace name for Power BI, dataset name. So this is the most that you can get. I don't know if any of you is using Power BI, if any of you is interested in, let's say, monitoring Power BI, but there's no chance to get up to a single page level. Some users are interested. We have reports built of many pages, of course. So there is a main page, and then there are detailed pages. No way to get up to a single page level. So we don't know exactly what kind of data or visual drives the most of the activity over a specific tool, a specific item. We don't know. And there is no way, as far as I know. Happy to be proven wrong. And then you have a consumption method. So for instance, Power BI Web, it's a Power BI service, but you can also have a Power BI app. Or you have SharePoint, because we are accessing, usually we are accessing via SharePoint. Then we come to some Azure stuff. This is Azure stuff, because, okay, for, I told you, some of our data is coming from Azure Analytics Services, so Cubes. The new version of Cubes, cloud tools. For them, we are collecting metrics. So it's no longer user activities. From here, you are collecting mainly query duration, number of queries, number of, well, I don't know, accesses over the time. So it's mainly monitoring metrics for checking how wealthy or healthy, sorry, or unhealthy your system is. So if you have a query that is running too long, so you can isolate and identify why the query is taking so much time, and blah, blah, blah. So this is something that we are adding to our solution. It's, again, is not exactly user adoption, but it is something that we wanted to monitor as well, because the cubes are pretty large. The cubes are pretty expensive, and we are scaling up and up every time that there is a new deploy. So now they are going to be really, really expensive. So the point is, okay, why, I don't know, we don't have so many data, or why the cube is not so well performing that we have to scale up to change the tire, because every time it's we are spending a lot of money. on it. So we are collecting some metrics, and this is log analytics metrics coming from Azure Monitor as well. And yeah, this is what you have, a bunch of operations. We are not going into details, but it's just for you to understand that these are metrics. So average, I don't know, count of something, number of jobs, average percent of something that is going on the memory level, memory metrics. What we are collecting is mainly two operations. One it's called query end, and one it's called command end, and this is also because we wanted to, how to say, reduce the number of data of queries or logs that we are collecting for saving money. So we are mainly filtering by query end and command end, so that we can see how long a query takes to run, and then if there is any, there are some thresholds, so you can get a warning if a query is running longer than usual, or if it's running over its average, so that you can figure out why and what's happening. And this is an example of a detail that you can get. So if you run a custo query over your log analytics, you see some details. So of course you have a timestamp, starting time, and end time, duration, some other stuff, and you also have, don't know if it's in this slide or in the, yes, in the next slide. So you also, this is the detail, it's a JSON file, and you also have the cube name somewhere. There should be the cube name, the username. So if anyone reports to you an issue, you go look for the user, and then you try to figure out what happened. Yes, so here we have the object name. It's masked, but you have the cube and all the details around your environment. So it's not only audit logs, there are also some metrics, and they are directly coming from Azure Log Analytics. Okay. Maybe it's the moment for asking if anyone has a question before going into the description of the solution. This is the architecture, but does anyone wants to ask anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So you want to get the logs for the analysis services or the metrics for the analysis?
Yes, yes, metrics. Yes.
Metrics for just seeing how it's performing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
How is that related to adoption?
It's not directly related to adoption, that's true. It's a different set of metrics. It's mainly, in this case, from the queue, from here, you can also, it's masked, but you can also get the cube name, so you can see what kind of cube it's mostly accessed. So in let's say, is not directly related to adoption, but you can also see which tool is most used. And in such cases, it's mainly related to performance and troubleshooting, because our cubes are growing and growing and growing, so we want to understand what's going on the cubes.
Okay.
Okay. And this is the full architecture of the solution, starting from data collection up to, as my presentation says, to the end, the final product that is a Power BI report where you can monitor, you can create a report over your data. Data sources, Power BI audit logs, Sharepoint audit logs, Azure Analysis Services logs. Then, of course, there is an automation. I will explain each of these steps in detail, so we will have details for it. Then you have a automation account, because you, yes, tell me.
Yeah, one question here. Did you manage to automate the collection of the logs?
Yes.
Yes, so that is fully automated, the SharePoint.
It's fully automated. It's fully automated, yes,
okay.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And it's handled through PowerShell scripts. Yes, yeah, tell me.
Orchestration segment, did you consider using Azure Data Factory for all those pillars like ingestions and transformations?
These steps from the storage accounts to pipeline, they are orchestrated through pipelines. It's not the data factory, it's Azure Synapse Analytics pipelines, but it's exactly the same stuff. It's pipelines, and it's exactly the same stuff. And in this step, in Synapse Analytics as well, we have pipelines. So yes, the answer is yes. It's just it just has a different name because it's Synapse, but behind the scenes, it's Azure Data Factory. It's exactly the same stuff because they are moving, or at least Microsoft recently integrated Data Factory into the full Synapse environment. So yes, we are using pipelines, indeed. The starting point is not using pipelines because the starting point is using PowerShell scripts. So the logs are collected through PowerShell scripts. And the PowerShell script is called via two automation runbooks. So for that point, we have an automation account. Second step, read the data and save the data somewhere. And the data is saved in a storage account, so into a data lake. All the three sets of data. So the data is saved into a storage account. From the storage account to the data warehouse, yes, there are pipelines that are moving and copying the data from the storage account to the data warehouse. Into the data warehouse, some transformation is happening as well. And then the final output, it's a Power BI report, or maybe more than Power BI report, because of course then you have a layer into Synapse that you expose to your end users. So everyone, not everyone, but some key people can directly access the data and build reporting on top of it, but we have a kind of official reporting for the management. So there is there are some KPIs that we agreed with the management, and they are reported into the Power BI report. So this is the full picture. As you can see, it's fully Azure stack thing. Data, but everything is in Azure. Yeah, okay, we already discussed it, so this is just an excerpt of the Power BI data that you can get. And the data, it's extracted through an automation account. What do you need for creating an automation account and running an automation account for reading and extracting data via PowerShell? You need a certificate for authentication between the runbooks and the Azure resources. You need an app ID, registration with some permissions on the app. So there is a API registration for an app, contributor role for the service principal, Azure automation account, and of course a storage account. Two Azure automation runbooks are created. We have one that we have the parent and the child. I guess this picture it's maybe more explanatory, but you have a parent that is calling the child. The child reads all the logs, all the audit log entries. and reports to the parent that then writes somewhere into a data lake, into storage account, basically. So there are two runbooks, and both of them are SharePoint, PowerShell scripts. There is a PowerShell script, the parent that calls the child. The child is doing something, reading the logs, extracting the logs as a CSV file. The output is a CSV file that is stored, as you will see, into the storage account. So the output is a CSV file via PowerShell, extracted via PowerShell. Yeah, and it's extracted on a daily basis. No, sorry, hourly basis. We are reading data every hour. Exactly. So we have the runbook scheduled every hour. So you have a schedule that runs every hour. So at the 0 o'clock of every hour, the runbook starts, reads the data for the previous hour, and then stores the data as a CSV, where into 2 containers, into storage account. Now, there is not that much to say about the storage accounts. It's just a repository. So you have 2 storage accounts, one for Power BI and one for SharePoint, with a bunch of CSV. Well, you wanted to say something? Okay. With a bunch of CSV file that are just staying there. The point is that I told you the standard retention period for logs might be at most 90 days. So of course, if you want to keep track of all your history, then you have to store your data somewhere. And this is why we started collecting the logs from the beginning. Although the solution was not ready, but it was really important reading and collecting the data from the beginning. Yeah, bunch of data, CSV files, saved somewhere. I think there is nothing fancy on the storage account. It's just a repository. And then, yes, okay, then you have a storage account. How to move the data from the storage account to the data warehouse, to the Synapse, through Synapse Analytics pipelines. So you create a linked service to your data lake storage. And then you have a pipeline. It's exactly the same interface as Azure Data Factory. It's exactly the same stuff. It's just wrapped inside Synapse Analytics. But everyone who is familiar with Data Factory knows that it's exactly. So if I wouldn't tell you, you maybe think, okay, this is a Data Factory. It's the same stuff. So you have a pipeline in Data Factory, just defining start and defining some dates, and then you have activities for copying data from Power BI storage account, from SharePoint storage account, and landing the data somewhere into the data warehouse. We will see in a moment where the data is landing. This is running once per day. So the data itself, the logs, are saved every hour, because it will be too big, too much data to read only once a day for the collecting the logs from the SharePoint Power BI logs. But then we don't need to have kind of real-time or near real-time monitoring. We don't need, so we just run this pipeline once a day. It's more than enough. So we have the data from the previous day, but it's absolutely okay. Yeah, okay, so the data is read through pipeline, And yes, so somewhere there is a definition of start date and the date that it's usually the day before. So we are reading data, I told you, for the day before. And then the data, it's landing into Synapse. Yeah, I don't know how much to go into details for Synapse, but we are landing the data into Synapse, into a staging area. So there is a one-to-one copy from the storage account to Synapse into a staging area, and it is done through pipelines. Then there are some transformations along the way, because in Synapse we have a staging area, and we have a data warehousing area, report data monitoring, something like that. How is it called? It's in 2 slides ahead. Anyway, there are some transformations. I'm not going into details. What maybe it's important, not important, is worth mentioning, is that we are again using pipelines. So you are using Azure Synapse pipelines for copying the data from the storage account to the staging area. So this is inside Synapse. Then you have some transformation, integration, report business data models. So the final layer, the final schema is the RDM, where you are ready to expose data to end users or to other tools. And everything is orchestrated through pipelines. There are some store procedures doing some transformations, but the store procedures are run via Azure Synapse pipelines. Yeah, I will skip this one. So we have pipelines for doing transformations inside the database as well, inside the data warehouse. So you have these pipelines, they are calling store procedures mainly for performing some activities. So everything is orchestrated via pipelines. And the same for the other steps. There are three steps into data warehouse. Every step is run via pipeline. Yes, okay, this one we can skip. Store procedures is too much detail. Okay, then, if you are interested in, this is the data model into the data warehouse. It's simplified, but it's not so far from reality, because actually our data model is pretty simple, really pretty simple, because we have 3 fact tables, 1 table for each log. So you have the Sharepoint log, and it's 1 fact table. Then you have another fact table for the Power BI log. And then you have Azure Analytics Log. So 3 main, very big fact tables, and a few dimensions, very small dimensions. You have a dimension for, these are pretty much built in for the reports, kind of a report hierarchy. So you have a report called, I don't know, e-commerce, okay, this or digital trade. This report is into the e-commerce business area that refers to, so you have kind of very simple hierarchy. The devices, is it an app, is it a browser, what kind of browser, what kind of operating system, blah, blah, blah. And of course, something that is coming from outside, something related to the user. Because from the audit logs, you just get the user account, so the email. Then you need to know, or you would like to know, okay, who he is. It's not who is mainly which role is he covering, which is his job position, where he is sitting is sitting in global office, is sitting in any market, because of course then you need to evaluate how the traffic is driven and what kind of both report or domain is driven most of the traffic, what kind of artifact, and what kind of people. Are they sales people? Are they global office people? Is it top management? Is it middle management? Is it just power users? Whatever. So of course you need to understand more about your audience. But the model is very, very, very simple. It's there is not that many complexity of dimensions around. It's just a free big fact table and something around to have a better understanding of what's going on. And the user dimension is coming from the HR. Actually, is not automated yet. So today it's a static dimension that we feed time to time. We are working on automation for that part as well. Today is not accomplished yet. Yeah, but this is the data model, and this is how in the Power BI data model it looks like. Again, just fact table, fact Power BI, or log, fact SharePoint, DIM employee data, DIM Power BI report. Pretty simple, nothing really fancy. I mean, we were how to say, we didn't reinvent anything building this solution. It's just that you need a full monitoring and full automation over your daily data. This is how the report looks like. This is a Power BI report, and we have 3 main pages. Executive view, then we have the SharePoint page, the insights, so the reports, Power BI reports page, with some KPIs. How many users, trend, kind of accesses, desktop versus mobile, number of reports, most viewed reports, most viewed SharePoint Athena sections, and blah, blah, blah. And it's pretty much the same for all the other stuff, but this is focusing only on SharePoint, on Athena. Again, kind of some KPIs. I mean, you can easily figure out what you need. You just want to see trends, traffic, based on temporal basis, how the traffic is going, and which tool or product drives the most of the adoption. And it's same for Power BI. Okay. Just we are wrapping up. A couple of words about the team, because this is not a one-man band team. Job. It cannot be. So we are working, and we are working in a team made of SharePoint developers, and we also have a SharePoint developer who has a very, very good experience in Azure automation, and we know who is this guy, Michael. Then we have a backend engineer, front-end engineer for building Power BI reports, someone who drives the conversation in terms of communication and change management around the full company, and a coordinator. Some takeaways that I like to share. I told you, and I say again, audit logs are not easy to read and handle. For me, the level of detail you get is not enough. We would like to have more, and all our audience is asking for more. But this is my answer. Unfortunately, this is what the most that I can give you. And yeah, of course, the data must be enriched with the dimension coming from different, so it's not just audit logs. Then you have to add something from other areas. Something that I really like to highlight is that there is no right or wrong. We took one way, we went this way, but I mean there are different, many different solutions, many different areas. There is no wrong or right decision. Just to give you a couple of inputs, I told you we decided to go for not to go for log analytics for several reasons. In other cases, might be the you might told me no. I think log analytics it's okay for me. We are using it. Happy to. So that is not right or wrong. We are having a data warehouse SQL pool data warehouse in Synapse Analytics, meaning that it's a consistent data warehouse. It's not a serverless data warehouse. Again, this is a solution we decided to went for. You can tell me, but I think serverless it's okay, and it's okay. It's indeed it's okay. So there is no right or wrong. Yes, okay. Some references there, and yeah, I am in time, and that's it.
Yes, a question. You, as you say, no right or wrong path, but you said one key driver was cost.
Yeah.
To not go with log analytics. How is the cost compared to this solution? You have signups in the mix with a dedicated SQL pool.
Yes, yes, and of course signups increases. Right now we are trying to keep the tier very low, and we are good at it. But yes, might be the case that sooner or later the costs are increasing because of signups. But the reason for going through signups is that this is not the only monitoring, let's say, solution that we are building. There are some other areas that we are investigating. For instance, there is a parallel cost collection initiative. I'm not involved in it, but so we have an area that is called auditing. So we have a resource group called auditing. Everything that is related to logs, data, blah, blah, lands down there. So we said, okay, for us it makes sense having a structured data warehouse where we can collect all the data, although maybe they are not talking each other, but at least you have one endpoint for it. And going through storage accounts, so storing the data, storing the logs data into storage account, that really lowered the cost down rather than keeping them into log analytics. So right now, it's a good balance. I mean, we are saving money. Might be that today the cost blows up depending on how large the synapse. It's how much the synapse is growing. Yeah, that's absolutely a fair point. Yeah.
Yeah, you have the possibility to reserve dedicated pools as well. So you can make a cost saving if you choose 1 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So that's also a way to push costs down.
Yes, and we are also then we are also thinking about switching on and off the SQL pool. It's not because we are across different areas, because we have users in America and we have users in Australia. So of course there is actually no downtime for. But this is also another maybe point to take into account, trying to figure out if you can during the day you can switch off the database.
From my experience, the third way of saving money, if you can convince your big wigs to switch to DevTest subscription SLAs from Microsoft, they're pretty stable. From my experience, we
Okay.
moved the same solution to standalone subscription and move it to dev test subscription.
Okay.
When Microsoft officially doesn't guarantee any SLAs, but it will cost you up to 60% less. So
Okay.
this is
No,
And-
I didn't know.
and the beauty of the solution that technicians will not need to change anything. No downtimes, no scale in, scale out, no switching from log analytics to storage accounts. It's just
Okay.
SLA per price. So you can also consider that.
Okay. I will ask to someone else. My area of competence, I told you, it's data. So we work together with the solution architect for doing it. So let's see. Yeah.
And my
It's
technical
a good point. Yes, ask.
My technical question, you mentioned on one of the slides that you
Mhm.
created and manage application registration service accounts.
Yeah.
My question is, did you play with manage identities
Yes.
for your solutions? And if yes, because I could feel the potential pain with the SharePoint's practices, but if you tried, where were the limitations of managed identities?
Yes, we tried. It didn't work. I don't remember the details. The details, to be honest, there were some issues in terms of. I think it's for PowerShell authentication. I guess that was the point. So at one point we couldn't authenticate PowerShell through the portal or something. So yeah, we gave up. I think it was an authentication issue using managed identities.
Another question.
Yes.
If you have a lot of pipelines in the mix,
Yeah.
what if the structure on the input changes? So like the logs, the audit logs, if there's
Mhm.
because you don't you don't decide the structure of the audit logs. That could, something else could come into that one, or you manage it in the automation script, in the extraction in the automation script. That's probably where you
Yeah.
define your. Yeah.
Yes. If you browse through the PowerShell script, there is somewhere the structure.
Yes.
So I don't think it's showing this as just.
Then the pipelines are safe. It's more like if
Yeah.
it just captures everything from the audit logs.
Yes.
The audit logs could change. Okay.
Yes.
That-
No. It's handled. And the structure. Now I think I got your question. And the structure of the CSV file, it's handled via the PowerShell script, and the delimiter, it's also handled via the PowerShell script. We had a bunch of issues with the delimiters because we tried with I think the standard one, it's the comma. No way, because then you have commas inside your description data. No way. Semicolon. No way. We ended up with pipe, but there were some pipes in our data. So now the script is doing some cleaning before, and then it's adding the pipe as a delimiter, but we had a lot of issues, and we spent a lot of time in defining the structure and the number of columns, and now the columns should have been created. Yes, but everything is into the PowerShell script.
And do you have any monitoring on your monitoring solution?
We are building the cost. We have a cost management initiative because seems that some areas is spiking. So yes, we are. No, we are monitoring costs. We are mainly monitoring costs.
Okay, so I think we can say thank you very much, Andrea. That was very interesting to see the full end-to-end solution.
Yeah.
A lot of details. So, and yeah, Hope the cost doesn't
Yeah,
skyrocket.
yeah, let's see. See you in 1 year. And
Yeah,
let's see.
maybe. Yeah. So thank you very much, everyone who has been watching today. This Global Azure 22. It's over from our side, but it will continue on the web, of course, with lots of interesting presentations. So thank you for watching.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
The last thing.